So today we're going to do a food truck. I'm going to do a special shout out to Luna. We were both doing food trucks over on Facebook and she gave me some great ideas about using the spaceship pieces. So we'll do another truck today. This is the one I'd already built. So we've got a little front cabin here with the helm as the wheel, a nice kitchen with decoration and two little platforms to order from. So the best wheels I've found are probably the horizontal log caps. You can also use just the wood itself, but I like that they're black. I did play around with the spaceship pieces, but they ended up being a little bit big for wheels on a truck. So I recommend starting with the wheels to get a good idea of how big it's going to be. I went 2 across, so either put a gap of 5 in between them, or if you're doing 2, put a gap of 3. And then we want to probably go 10 or 11 up, just to give enough space for the kitchen. And so once you've placed down the 4 wheels, just have a look by eye to make sure it looks like it's not going to be too much bigger than the people, just so that it doesn't look out of place if you're using it. And once we've done that, we want to go along and create a base for the truck bed. So I'm going to use iron pieces and we want to go along and fill the whole section in. And then so that it looks more like a truck and that's wheels, we want to go through and chisel everything to just the top half. I recommend to chisel everything down first and then go through and chisel it up. You'll see it's a lot quicker than trying to double chisel each section. So now we've done that, we've got that little bit of height, so we can go along and start creating the platforms that people would order from in theory. So play around a little bit. It will depend exactly how long the truck is, how big you want the platform to be. The original one I had done, we'd done 2 small platforms, but for this one we'll do 1 platform in the middle. So we won't keep these blocks here, they're actually just to give us a bit of a visual idea of how big the platform will be. But I will just chisel them up so that visually it still looks like it's raised, and that helps me work out where the platform will be. So we're going to do a black truck this time. So I went ahead and I dyed iron blocks black. For the original truck I had used spaceship pieces. Like I said, Luna had given me that idea and I think it looks really good. So now that we have a base, we'll make it look a little bit more like a truck. So we want to go along the front and back and create a 1 block border, and then at least 5 blocks I think up, maybe 4, but you want to have enough room for the camera to get in if you're using it as a kitchen. And then from there we can think a bit about how we want to decorate it. I had done a white truck with a red stripe previously, but you can always just fill it in the base color like I have here, and that might give you an idea of what you can do. So now that I know I've got my black iron as the actual platform, I can go ahead and chisel that in. I think it looks nicer if it's just that 1 level up from that base block. So we'll go ahead and delete them now that I know that that looks right. And it's a good idea as well to put in some little supports like that so it looks like it's sort of a platform. I like the wood supports because they make it look less permanent and more like it's come to be set up. So now a good idea is just to put a 1 block border along where you believe the top of the truck's going to be, and then you can think a little bit more about putting some design in. I've decided we're going to do a taco truck. So I'm going to do a Mexican flag as the decoration on the back. So luckily this turned out to be 9 along, so I could do 3 lots of green, 3 lots of red, 3 lots of white to make like a flag. And it's a bit of trial and error. It is all decoration. Sometimes as well, if you're not happy with something like that looks quite plain, don't just ditch it straight away. Try and play with a few different effects to see if you can get it looking a little better. So I put some wooden stairs on the back, again wooden just to look like they're kind of there temporarily. And I wanted a bit more of that green, white, red flare, so I figured the supports on the back could be green and red, and then we could just have a white strip along the top, and that's like another little flag. So I guess their theme for their truck is all about that Mexican flag. So now that I've done that, it's a basic shape just with that little bit of raised area at the bottom and the wheels, it's already starting to look very truck-like. And this truck we're going to do as a trailer truck, which is going to be different to the other truck we've done, but there isn't going to be a lot of difference between the two. So once you've filled in the top, I recommend making an area on the top that is defined, so you know that's where you're going to have your little sort of bobblehead piece or whatever it's going to be. You don't have to do that, but I think it is a nice effect to have on a truck. But even if you don't, it still does look like a food truck. So I decided to go ahead at the front and just do a green and a red. And because when we look in from the middle, we can prominently see the white, it gives a sort of double effect to the flag. So now we're going to do a canopy like we've got on the Japanese food truck. So there's a few different ways you can do canopies. I find the best way is to just start at the top and get an idea of how long you want it to be, but you'll need to kind of go 2 across, 1 down, and follow that pattern to make it have that descending effect. So what we're going to do is 2 out, so that we have 1 diagonal and 1 attaching to the roof piece. From there, on the second row, we need to do 1 underneath, and then we need to do 1 out. Once we've done that, we will actually do 1 more underneath, and that is going to help us put on our awning pieces. So the awning decoration pieces stick to the top of the blocks. So if we go ahead and put them on this layer, you can see it's not the nicest effect. So what we do is put them on there and go back and delete that row, and then it's going to be sitting very nicely on the edge. So I decided to do a row of 2 wooden fences here. I did start doing it accidentally, but I liked the visual effect of it, and I still think, again, it looks like not a permanent structure, so it still works. So now that we've done that, we need to start chiseling it up. So once we get on the top, we need to diagonally chisel that top section so that it looks like it is more of a canopy that way, like it's stretching over. Once we've done that, we then want to half chisel the block underneath to the top and the one out from that. Once we've done that, we could just do a bottom chisel piece here, but another thing we could do is a second diagonal chisel. So if you see here, that way from the front, it's got a really nice sort of canopy effect, and it does look like it is something that's like a pull-out stretched canopy. So now that that's done, I decided to do another piece of wood at the back, again just because I think it adds a nice little bit of decoration. So now we'll put a few things in the kitchen just to give it a bit more of a whole feel so that we know that we're going for one theme. In the Japanese food truck, I had used the modern cooktops, but I feel like the brick barbecues will suit better here, just because we're doing tacos and things that'll have a lot of grills. So I recommend if you want to do a few brick barbecues in a row, if you just rotate them around a few times, it makes them look a little bit nicer and not as samey. So I think that is starting to look nice for the inside. Obviously we'll need to do a fair bit more decorating, but even just having that so that when we look in, gives us a bit of a visual idea of what you're going to be able to see from the outside and how much decorating you want to do. And there's lots of hanging decorations like the fry pans that look quite good in a build like this. Now the next thing we will work on is the front. So I recommend probably 4 or 5 block space between the food truck part and the actual cab of the truck. So we won't go ahead and put all the lights, the headlights like this one has in, just because that is something obviously you can do yourself. We just want to show you how to build the basic structure. So there's 2 ways. The original way I had done was with some diagonal shaped blocks. You won't be able to use the space blocks for that if you're doing a white truck because they'll be black. But what we're going to do on this one is we're going to use these spaceship pieces. Like I mentioned at the start, Luna had been working on that, and that gave me an idea to try this second type of truck. So they're the spaceship top and bottom pieces, and you can dye them. They'll always be black on the sides. So that's the other reason that I wanted to do a black truck, because I figured it would all suit. So the first thing we need to do is, like you've just seen, just go ahead and extend that platform from the kitchen. And then we want to go ahead and make a barrier that will be the front of the truck. And we want to probably put it either 1 or 2 blocks out from the wheel. I find 2 is better, so that when we're curving the roof back towards the window, we have a little space before the wheels. So now I've just done 2 blocks high with that curve at the front. We can see it's already starting to look a lot more like a truck. So this we're going to make more like a sort of flatbed truck. The other truck is all connected like most food trucks, but this one we're going to just carve out the sides and just leave 1 block connecting it all in the middle. And that's going to give it a slightly different effect to the first truck, make it look like a trailer truck. Now you could put a door in so you could get in from the kitchen, but I'm actually going to go and put a door in from the side. So if we go in here, I won't put this in the truck that we're doing now, but what I've just done is gone and put a helm in behind a row of blocks and a seat. Now you kind of want your side door on the cab and a few windows both on the front and the side. So I've just gone with a black door with a curved window around the top, kind of how a lot of trucks look. And then I want to do the same for essentially the windscreen once I've gone along the top here. So now it's already starting to look a lot more like a truck cab. Even though they're simple shapes, it's quite easy if you're just working on the simple shapes. Whoever's looking at it, their brain will make the shape that you want, as long as you've got enough key indicators. So what I mean by that is, once we put a windscreen in here and then say later some lights, it's going to automatically, those key features, people are going to see a car or a truck. Now the way I've done this, the only issue is I need to put in a couple of rows of blocks for the window to actually sit on, and I'll just go back after this and I will change that. It will look like there is a little gap obviously when I take that away, but I can always just put a single row of iron blocks under it. But also it's not something you'll notice unless you're trying to look from a top-down perspective like that, which you wouldn't look if you're usually like that if you were visiting someone's island. So I wouldn't worry too much about that gap. And above the window I just want to put another set of that spaceship tiling, and then it's going to look pretty complete, and we can start moving on to doing a little decoration like the top here. So this one I decided was going to be sort of like an Asian noodle store. So I made kind of like a Lucky Tiger soup on top, and that is just 4 pieces of spaceship block with the tiger, a shell, and some rocks, and actually put some hot water behind it to make it steamy. So what we're going to do on this one though is we're going to do a taco. So for this, we're going to go 7 across, and we're going to do that in 2 layers, and then we're going to go 1 in, 2 layers high. So you'll see in a second, I'd started with this, but because I wanted it raised, I decided we'd make it a little bit bigger so that we can fit underneath a little stand. So we just half chiseled that block. And I figured as well, to give an extra effect, I wanted to have a musical instrument hiding in the middle of the taco so that you can have the little musical note effect coming out the top of it. I thought that'd be very cute. So we're just going to place a gramophone in there, and before I finish I'll make sure to go put some music in it playing, so that especially at night it's going to have quite a nice little effect behind it. So we want to add some filling just to give this shape a little bit more of a dynamic feel. So if we go around and go 2 blocks out, we don't need to fill it all the way in necessarily, we just need to create a little barrier. So if we see if we chisel the front in and then leave the sides, we've got a nice effect like filling coming out. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it 4 blocks thick, and we're going to have 2 blocks worth in the middle of filling. So there we can see we've got my red, which I'm thinking is like tomatoes, and I'm just gonna chip out a few blocks and change them into yellow. I'm just using chalk blocks here because I want it to be very colourful. And that's going to give it, I'm thinking, like a tomato and cheese feeling. And then what I wanted to do for the front facing set of blocks is use leaves. I thought this was a good idea because obviously they're slightly translucent as well, which means you actually can see the red and yellow behind the green, and it gives it a pretty nice feeling, I think. So once you're happy with your taco, I did go and put a shell on the back. I suppose it is a shell on the back, just in case, you know, if people are walking around, you can see it nice from the back as well. I ended up making this slightly smaller in the end. I cut off the 2 side blocks and the bottom block. I think it looks good both ways, but I ended up liking making it a little bit smaller in the end just because it looked a little oversized for me on the truck, but I still think it's a nice statue to make. So now that we're pretty much done, we can go around and start doing some more fancy decorations. I'm just putting some light posts on either side because I've decided that we'll put the menus on the front here. And we'll just need to take down those pieces of wooden fencing and then put them back to get the display frames on there. So once we start putting some menu items in, it starts looking a little bit more full. And like I said, we won't go through and do the full front. Really all you need to do is have your headlights in there like this truck. I put some air vents as well because I thought that gave a nice extra effect. At the back I had made what looks like to be, I guess, a big vent, but that was actually just to kind of secretly hold the hot water for the steam effect. And in here I tried to keep it with a theme. I used a lot of like red and white, and I tried to make it a very modern looking kitchen to sort of fit with the like modern Japanese theme of the food. So I do suggest sort of playing around and thinking about what type of food it is that's going in the truck and making sure that you decorate accordingly, because it is little things like that that help give the design an overall sort of feeling of continuity, really. That's pretty much it for the food trucks. I am going to put another video out today that is the Wisteria Garden I posted on Facebook. And that's a less modern build, a bit more of a fantasy style. I'll put that one up not long after this. Both of these will be available shortly on my tutorial island, but I'm just moving everything over to the Pokemon island right now so that I can have both my tutorial and my Pokemon buildings up at the same time. I hope to release the Pokemon Center tutorial too in about 2 days. It's almost done, but if there's anything in particular you want to see before that, let me know.